Welcome to this video on Basic Maven, the first in a series of videos on Maven. And this video will ask, what is Maven? It's a tool that allows you to manage the build process to compile, package, deploy, and test your applications. It also allows you to manage the dependencies between projects. It promotes the use of sensible conventions over the need for extensive configuration, and essentially consists of a small core that knows how to download and use plugins that can do particular things, like compile or package a particular kind of application. Every project in Maven exists within a coordinate space. The coordinates are group, artifact, and version. So if you have a particular group ID, an artifact ID, and a version number, that uniquely identifies a project to Maven. Each project is described in a special file called the project object model, or POM. This contains the coordinates for the project, possibly the coordinates for its parent project if it has one, a list of the dependencies that the project has, and optionally some other special configuration. So what do these look like? The coordinates are specified using the group, artifact, and version as we saw earlier. If there is a parent, its coordinates are specified in the parent tag. Dependencies are also specified using the coordinates for the dependency, and we'll see the other configuration options in a later video. So Maven works through repositories. There's a number of repositories on the internet, Maven Central being the main one. JavaNet also has one, and there are a number of others. And each developer has a local repository on their machine. So when the developer tells Maven to build a project, it takes a look at the dependencies in the POM for that project, and if it doesn't have all of the necessary dependencies, it will go and find them and download them from Maven Central or a different repository. Once it has them in the developer's local repository, it can build a project, and the next time it needs them, it won't need to download them because it already has them locally. If you have a lot of developers, you can set up an internal repository inside your firewall, which acts as a cache or a mirror. So only the first developer has to wait for the download from the internet, and all the others get much quicker access to dependencies that they need. The repositories also contain sample applications, which are called archetypes. So a developer can say, for example, I want to create a new web app. Maven will go and find the archetype for a web app, download that to the developer's local repository, and create a project for them. So Maven has a default lifecycle, which is worth understanding. So it's made up of a number of phases. Firstly, validate, which is where we check that we have all the files that we need. Compile takes source files and turns them into object files. Test executes tests against those object files. Package builds a deployable unit like a WAR file or a jar file, for example. Integration test is for running tests against the deployed application. Verify is for checking things like quality, and install and deploy are to do with publishing your projects so that other developers can use them as dependencies in other projects. In fact, there's actually a lot of sub-phases so that you have a pretty fine level of control over what order things are done in. But now let's take a look at it and see what it looks like. So here we have a standard Linux desktop. Maven also runs on Windows and other operating systems, and we're going to get started by downloading Maven and Java and getting them installed. So we go to the Maven website here. I'm going to download Maven 305, so we'll go ahead and download that, and we'll save that file, and we already have Java, we don't need to download Java. Okay, so let's open a command window Okay, so we see that we have Maven download here in our downloads folder. So let's go ahead and unzip that. Okay, and we'll just add that to our path. And now we see that we have Maven in our path. We can get the version. So we see Apache Maven 305 and the Java version 170. So let's go ahead and create an application. So we can use Maven archetype generate to create a new application, and this will go and retrieve, as you can see it's downloading a bunch of files from Maven Central. It's going to retrieve a list of the archetypes that are available, and there are quite a few archetypes available. So when this finishes downloading here, we'll find the one that we're interested in, which is a basic web application for Java 6. Okay, so you can see there's quite a few here, and here's the one we're interested in, a web app for Java EE 6. So we'll say we want to use archetype 459. It's going to ask us what version. We'll just take the latest one. And now it's asking us for the coordinates. So we're going to use com.redstack as our group. And our artifact ID will be, my web app. And we'll use 1.0 snapshot as the version. The snapshot is an indication that this is not a finished version, that is still a work in progress. Okay, so Maven has now created for us a project in this my web app directory. So we can see in here it's created a particular directory layout for us to keep our source files, our Java under source main Java, our JSPs and so on under source main web app, and it's also created this POM file for us. So let's take a look at the POM. So here we see the coordinates for the project as we specified. Here we can see there's a dependency on the Java Web API version 6, and there's some other things in here as well. So you can see this is going to have some settings for the Maven compiler plugin, and we're going to use the Maven war plugin to create the war file, and so on. So we'll learn more about that later on. For now, let's go ahead and edit the JSP. So you can see it says hello world, and we'll just go in here and say from redstack. Yep. Okay, so now let's go ahead and compile. So if we say Maven compile, Maven compile, then Maven will go ahead and, again, because it's the first time we're running it, it needs to download some more plugins so that it knows what to do with a compile, and it'll go and look for any source files like Java files, like servlets for example, if we had one, and compile those into class files. So essentially this is not really going to do anything because we don't have any Java source files. So the next step would be to package into a war file. So let's go ahead and type Maven package. Now again, because this is the first time it's going to download a bunch of files to learn how to do a package, and we'll do this again later and you'll see it doesn't download the files the second time. So if we take a look now, we can see that we have a war file sitting in our target directory right here. So the next thing that we logically would want to do is run it. So there happens to be a plugin for Jetty, which is a nice and easy little Java server. So let's go ahead and run our application on Jetty. So we do that by telling Maven we want to run the run war goal in the Maven Jetty plugin, and here's the group ID. So we have the group ID, the artifact ID, and the name of the goal we want to execute. So again, this is the first time we've used Jetty, so it needs to go download it and set it up for us. And it's going to go ahead and do that now. Let's open up a browser. And we can go to localhost 8080 my web app, and here's our application that we just wrote. So you can see it's Maven sort of knows what to do. We don't have to give it a lot of information because it's using, you know, sensible conventions. So let's go ahead and make a change to our application now. So we'll go and edit our JSP again. So we're just going to add a little bit of new content in there, and again we can run Maven and tell it to package the web app and then run the war on Jetty. So if we go ahead and do that, you notice this time it doesn't download a whole bunch of files because it already has them. We can go refresh our web app, and there we see the change. Okay, so while we're here, we'll also take a quick look at a couple of the help goals that are available. So we can say Maven help effective POM, for example, and this will let us see what the actual POM that Maven uses to build a project looks like. So because POMs have inheritance, and because there can be properties and settings, you know, in the overall environment, it's possible that the POM might look slightly different to the one that we specify. So you can see here the POM that's actually generated and used in the build is quite a bit longer than the one that we saw earlier. So what we're seeing here is Maven adding in all of those conventional, you know, standard defaults that we talked about, so that we don't have to specify all of that stuff ourselves. Just for comparison, again, here's the POM that we specified. So you can see it's much shorter. So the other one we'll take a quick look at is the describe, help describe. So here we can find out information about a plugin. So let's ask Maven to tell us about the Maven Jetty plugin. Okay, so you can see it provides information about the various goals that are supported. Here's the run war goal that we used earlier, and we can also get more detailed information about the parameters and so on by specifying that we want detail. So that's a quick look at Maven. Hopefully it gives you a feel for what it is. In the next video, we're going to take a look at some more intermediate to advanced uses of Maven, including things like inheritance and properties, setting up profiles so we can build in different environments, setting up security to access servers, and looking at how we can do some debugging and error checking. So I hope you'll join us then. Goodbye.